I'm vengeance.
Hey, this is Zed, and I'm going to show you how you can apply this comic book look to your footage. And it's really simple, nothing complicated. I did the comic book look on the Batman footage. I used Ebsynth, which is a free program, and you can download it from the site, Ebsynth.com. So this is the program that's going to allow you to paint over the footage. And also, if you never used Ebsynth before, you got a perfect video tutorial. So I'll write the link below in the video description. So I use Ebsynth, Photoshop to do my painting, After Effects to do the compositions. Now, if you don't have After Effects, you can download another similar programs like HitFilm, which is a free program. So you can download HitFilm from here. I think it's still free. If not, it's really cheap, nothing compared to After Effects. But I'm used to After Effects, Photoshop, so I'll be using After Effects for this video demonstration. Now, let's go back. Now, before we start to, the project, start to paint, I have my reference pictures gathered of Batman DC Comics, as you can see over here. I don't need all of them. I'm probably going to use, well, this is the one that I'll be using. I like the details over here. And this is pretty much, it gives a comic book look. And this is the comic book that I want to go for. It's more of a cover of a comic book. So I don't know about you, but whenever I would look at the cover page of a comic book, that would just, I'd be like really, mind blown. I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. Imagine seeing a movie like this, or because the drawing is really great. And obviously there's a lot more work that is done over here, if you look at it. So in our case, it really depends how much time are you willing to put. So me, I don't want to put too much time, but I want to have some kind of imitation that kind of looks like this. But if I want to go exactly like this, it would require a bit more work, more precisions. The ink work is quite clean. It's really clean, actually. You have this darker tone and this variation in color. So this makes this image pop out even more. So I don't want to spend too much time, like I said, and we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you exactly what I did in Photoshop to get that imitation. This is not the best footage. Why is not the best footage? Because it's too dark. Well, first of all, it's compressed. It's extracted from YouTube. So it's not. It's a compressed video. There's noise. It's what's happening over here, and it's dark, low lit, and there's like rain. So Ebsynth will have a hard time reading this. When Ebsynth is not able to read the footage, when it's too dark, our painting frames, it might just kind of go all over the place. It might spill. There's always a workaround, and when there's a workaround, there's gonna be a bit more work added. So now we can start. So first thing that I want to do is open After Effects and drag my footage to After Effects. How about I just take this, bring it here. Okay, we're gonna trim it from here. Okay, so the footage that I needed is, just when he's about to go down to give some more punches. This one over here. So let's trim this from this part and then until he says, "I'm vengeance." And chop this out. Now let's drag this down. This is pretty much all we needed. Great, perfect. And now let's trim this as well over here. So now that we have this, let's go to File and Export. Add to Render Queue. And in Render Queue, output module, let's switch this to PNG file. PNG sequence, and press OK. And let's find a place to save this. So let's create a new folder. I'll call it video. So this is in the video folder. I'm going to save my PNG sequence, and I'm going to create another folder actually. And this video is going to, this folder will be called PS. This is where I'll be saving my Photoshop file. And another folder, I'll call this keyframes. This is where I'll be saving the keyframe once I'm done painting in Photoshop. The keyframe will be used for Ebsynth. So having these three folders over here, well, I'm pretty much set up. Now let's go to video and let's save our shot A of Batman basically. So, and let's keep the number, this one, don't remove it, keep this. Okay, so now this is set. Let's click render. Okay, so now that the rendering is done, the PNG sequence are ready. Let's open Photoshop and let's go get that frame. So it's in shot A video folder, and let's pick a frame that we can paint over. So 2215, let's pick this frame to work on. Now this is our working frame. We'll paint over this. Now the first thing that I like to do is I would never paint directly on the footage. I'd paint it on a separate layer. So either you can paint in a new layer by creating here. So what I do is I need to create the guideline first. This guide or the sketch line. So to do that, I mean, it really depends how you like to work in Photoshop. I like to create this solid instead, solid color. Why? Because I can always change the color of this solid. And right next to the solid, there's a mask. So let's select the mask and click fill the mask black so there's no more mask. Now whatever is underneath this solid is revealed. And we are going to paint on the mask itself. And now I can just do the guideline. And I'm doing it with a hard round brush with pen pressure. And keep in mind that I'm using a pen tablet. And if you want to, invest as an artist, getting a pen tablet would be quite essential. Okay, so what I want to talk about right now, my guideline is, it's not really visible. Why? Because this image is quite dark. So one way to work this out is to go back to the solid, double click on it, and turn this white. This is the reason why I'm using a solid, so I can always switch the color. Now, make sure you have your mask selected. So let's continue doing our guideline. So this is how my guideline looks like. It's quite rough. It's not the best. Like I said, the whole point of this exercise is to do it as quick as possible. But again, it really depends on you, how clean you want your frame to be. Now, the next thing that I want to do is create another solid. And this one is going to be for the shadow. So I'll call this shadow. Let's fill this mask black. Now, on the mask, let's paint the shadows. So again, I'll do the same trick. Switch this to white to start with. And so now this is pretty much what it looks like. So now let's convert this color back to black. Same thing for the line. Back to black. Okay, there you go. It's coming out. It's already giving out that comic book look. But we're not done here. So one thing that we need to do is really the color. So this time we'll just create a layer. And in this layer, we'll call it color. So for this one, let's bring our reference picture that we had before. So we want to be able to, well, what I want to do is steal some colors from here, because this is a nice color palette. So I want to apply this color palette to this image. And one way to do this is to use the color picker. And let's pick the middle value of this comic book, of this painting over here. So the middle value would be somewhere around here. That's the middle value. Now we can just apply this with a solid color. And what's the bright value? This is the bright value. So maybe we can apply a bit of that right over here. All right, so this is what I have for the colors. And my first layer is just base color, just to bring out the shapes. We're talking about like 3 values: mid value, darker value, bright value. and the brightest value right over here. And then on the next layer, I'm kind of like using, I'm doing a bit of shading by using a different brush, something more of a, I'm using something of a hard round pressure, opacity, and flow. So it kind of blends better. Now there are some extra layer for the spec because it's raining after all, and some detailed textures of this. Let's create the environment as well, because the environment looks a bit too real. So we'll do the same thing. So now we have the environment, a bit of a brush strokes. You know, I don't want to spend too much time for the background. And the way I see it, this environment is so noisy that there's a big chance Ebsynth is not really going to hold it right. So, but we'll have to live with that. We're ready to save this. File, save as, or save as copy actually, because we want to save this as a PNG file for Ebsynth keyframes. File save. Now, obviously, don't forget to save your file as PSD file with all the layers in case you need to go back and make some adjustment. Great. Now let's open Ebsynth. Ebsynth is here on my desktop. So let me go get that file basically. So what I want to do is in Ebsynth, I want to be able to drag my keyframe folder in keys over here. And for the video, I will drop the video folder that has, well, the PNG sequence of the footage. So drag it here. And I don't really play with the settings because by default it works really well. And now let's click on synth or run all. All right, now that the rendering is done and so is my coffee, now let's check this out by sending it to After Effects. Wow, looks pretty messy in the beginning frames. This means we'll have to paint more keyframes for the early frames. And now it gets better over here. This is not so bad. Okay. So what I like to do in After Effects is to put this in a quarter so the quality is lower for me for preview purpose. It's easier to play. Okay. We might have to do some masking to take these guys out, well, this spilling. Now let's just play this just to see how it looks like. As I mentioned before, for the background, it's going to be a bit hard. It's going to be a bit wobbling, as you see over here, because of the noise and rain. So Ebsynth is not really able to read all the information that's in the background. But that's okay. We can get away with that. But one thing we can't really get away with is this frame. This doesn't really work. So this means let's paint more keyframes. One, him standing here, and one when he's about to go down. We see a lot of his cape. I paint that frame. And another one when he's throwing his punch. So we're talking about 3 more frames. Now let's go back to Photoshop. Go to File, Open, go to Video. Well, you know what? We can just open. We can open these frames, but now we'll just go to Video and take the frame. So yeah, let's do the whole process all over again by painting it on top of the footage. And this is what we have. This is him standing, and we have another file where we see a bit more of his cape. And finally, the one when he's throwing a fist. Now he's throwing a couple of fists. I think one of them would do the job. But you know, if you want to have something more cleaner, the more frames you paint, the better it will look like, especially for this footage, because there's a lot of movement and it's not the best quality footage to work on. So now let's save all of that and run Ebsynth again. So File, go to Keyframes, save it as a PNG sequence. Let's remove the word copy. Save. So the keyframes folder has all the keys. Let's take that, drag it over here. Something for the video, drag it here. Now obviously we have more blocks here. Now we can click Run All and wait for the render. Okay, the rendering is done. Now send to After Effects. Okay, this looks already better. Now let's just toggle through the frames. Oof, it's a bit messy, but we can definitely work with this. So yeah, let's put this back to quarter. Lower quality, but better for preview. So let's play this up. Now it seems like what's happening is that this frame that we painted, it's it's as if it's painted in the background as well. So we'll need to get rid of that. And one way to get rid of that, I think it's coming from this frame. So let's drag this timeline and cut it down. Because this is the frame, it throws the fist, and then it should be gone by then. So we're gonna bring this down up to here. Now what's happening with the higher upper frame, the opacity is too low because Ebsynth is already doing the setup for you, is playing with the opacity. This frame should be, we can just go here to the opacity and put this to 100%. Now let's check this out. Let's play this. Okay, this is cool. Okay, I think I can live with this. So now what we need to do for the remaining part is to play with the mask, because there's a lot of this painting all over the place. All that. So take all your layers and go to pre-compose them. Pre-compose, we'll call this Batman. Give it whatever name that kind of works for you. Pre-comp. Now let's go get our mask tool and apply it here. We might need to create more of these points for this mask to have more control. But for now, this is fine. So obviously this mask needs to be inverted. Go to mask, invert. Looks great. Now one more thing is to animate our mask. So let's apply a key on the mask path. Let's move our frame. So I'm not animating my mask in every single frame. I'm just doing a big jump from a couple of frames higher up. All right, so now that we have a mask that works, so now that I have a mask that we're quite satisfied with. Now the problem that we're getting right now is that the background is black, so we'll need to replace it with a background. Now there's two ways to do this. One, you can just bring the background image, put it behind it. But what I did is I used the footage and I put it behind. So I copied the footage, brought it here, and this is actually the footage, because the footage and the environment that we painted is very similar, so we can definitely get away with that. The main focus was the character, was the Batman, to make it look like a comic book look. I didn't pay much attention. I didn't really care much about the background. So now I have this in the back, and now what I did for the feather, of course, is that I applied a feather on the mask. Now if I don't have the feather, it's a harsh line. So right now it's like a nice transition, so it's seamless. It blends well. And we are good with this. We are done with Batman first shot. Now the only thing that we want to do is that there's two bars that we have at the top and the bottom. So we want to recreate that, and I already have that layer. I'm just going to drag it here. Black bars. This is more like the format. Now by putting it on the top, it covers the painting that is coming out of the frame. Now we're good with this. Now all we need to do is the effects, meaning the extra elements. For example, the rain, and maybe we can add a bit of hit effects. So all that is done in Photoshop. Let's go back to Photoshop and let's check that out. So in Photoshop, I created a layer with blood. There's 3 of them for 3 frames because he punches 3 times, I think. And there's also one for the hit. 3 frames, nothing fancy. We're just gonna see it in a frame. So it's like a quick glimpse that we see it. And for the rain, same thing. And I also added a glow light coming from the screen left. So it kind of gives, brings out that comic book look even more. For the rain, again, there's 3 frames. And we are going to loop this animation. Okay, so same thing. What do? Save this rain as a PNG file. Each layer, rain A, rain B, and rain C. So let's go back to After Effects and drag all our elements. Now I have already these elements here. For the orange light, let's drag it here. This is cool. Let's put this underneath the black bars. Great. And now for the rains, same thing. Take the rain layers. You have 3 of them. And drag it down. So here it is. I have the rain. So take this rain A and do new comp from selection. Now we have it in a new comp. And what I want to do is, first of all, let's go to composition settings and let's make the duration not 15 seconds. That's way too long. Let's make it to 1 second. Everything is fine. We'll call this rain animation or rain loop. So this is a 1 second comp, which means it has around, well, let me just check one more thing. How many? We need 24 frames. So not 34 frames, 24 frames. So it means we'll have 24 frames for this 1 second. Let's drag the other rain B and rain C as well. Okay, so for rain A layer, we'll turn this to 8 frames. And for rain B, it'll be up to 16. And rain C starts at 16 and ends at, I believe this is 24. So this is a full 1 second. Now let's play this. This is good. This works great. So what I want to do now is take this and pre-comp it and call this rain loop or animation. I'm bad with naming, so I just give it whatever that makes sense for me. Now I'm going to copy this, Control C copy, and let's go to our Batman comp. And let's drag this rain right over here. And let's play this. It's a bit too slow, but I'm not concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is after this, if the rain is over. So one way you can do this is to duplicate this many times so it fills the timeline space. And that could, take a lot of space in your RAM. Well, not a lot of space because this is not really heavy, but that could be a redundant work. So what I would do instead is create a loop animation for this rain. And to do that, you right click, go to time, and enable time remapping. And now go to the last frame, right over here, last keyframe. When you do a time remapping, this is automatically done for you. And now in the last keyframe, hold Control and press the left arrow key. So it's gonna bring you back 1 frame. And now we're gonna create a new key. Okay, I'm just gonna zoom in a bit so it's more visible. Now, double click on the last keyframe and put this to 0, press OK, click auto fit, click again, and delete. Now you might be asking, why am I doing this? Just follow this instruction. It's gonna work for you. As a matter of fact, I found this video on YouTube and it works for me. I don't need to do much investigation. What's the logic behind it? Okay, so this is what it is. Now we can just extend this. We're able to extend the layer. Oh, guess what? There's one thing we forgot to do, and that is to go by press hold and click on the timer here, and click on this play button. Go to property, loop out. That's all we needed. Now we're good. There you go. We're good with the rain. Now what I want to do for the rain is that I want to speed it up a bit. I feel like it's a bit too slow. And again, for the rain, you know, if you had like more frames painted for the rain, you'll have better animation. But I think for me, 3 frames, I'm satisfied with it. So let's go back to rain loop and go to time and time stretch. So what I want to do, I want to speed up the rain. So make the speed to 50%. So it's gonna go faster. There you go. I'm quite satisfied with this. This works well. Now, you know, you can apply some effects for your rain. What I like to do is apply either some kind of motion blur or lens blur, camera lens blur that does the job well. So it's a bit motion blur. We're good with this. This is good. Maybe it's a bit too much. Let's put this to 2. So I'm quite happy with this. Now I would like to duplicate this rain one more time and whoops, and rename this. I'll call it FG rain loop. So this will be in the foreground. Just gonna play with the layer so it's not identical to the one in the bottom. And what I want to do for the lens blur is to make this blurred up so it feels more like it's in the foreground. So now we have some kind of depth, but one last thing would be, why is it the same timeline? There you go. One last thing would be to maybe scale it up so it brings it closer to the camera. Not the position, the scale. There you go. Maybe 20% is a bit too much. Let's put it to 15%. So we're quite happy with this. And what I want to do now is to bring the rest of the elements. So right now I have pretty much all the layers added. And I added the blood hit, just a frame of it right over here. So one shot is now complete. Now what I wanted to do is add more shots, like 2 more shots. So for these other 2 shots, it's going to be the same process all over again. This is how it looks like. Now you can just, you know, add whatever elements that you need. So the main point of this video was to show how you can apply the comic book look to your footage. And especially when you have a footage that have low light, not the best quality, how you can work around it. And what it comes down to is really painting multiple frames. Now, if the footage is really poor quality, you might have to even draw way more frames and it's not really worth it. So I always have a footage that is well lit. In cases like this, where I really needed to use the Batman footage, I had no choice to paint multiple frames and do the masking after to make it work. All right, finally, we have all the shots complete and composited. Whatever elements that we needed, it's all added. So we have shot A, shot B, and shot C. So now I'm gonna bring shot B right over here, put them all together. Same thing for shot C, copy that and put it here. So we have all the shots piled up together. Now let's create a camera. Now with this camera, what I wanted to do is really, well, first of all, let's switch all this to 3D. So let's click on this box. So now we're in a 3D world. And with the camera, I want to bring this down, bring it further up. What I'm doing right now is really to place these shots like a comic book layout right over here. I'm happy with this. Let's bring the camera further back. And for the shot C, same thing. We're gonna bring it all the way here. Okay, we're quite happy with this. Now what's happening here? Oh, it seems like, sorry, there's like a freeze frame that is applied on this one for some reason. Time. How can we remove the, there you go. Okay, so we have all the shots here. Now the problem is that we don't want the animation to start the same time for all of the shots. So when shot A ends, shot B should start. So let's drag this shot B over here. And when shot B ends, shot C should start. But then we want to see, we don't want shot A to disappear after the animation is done. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna take shot A and we're gonna duplicate it. And take the last frame of shot A. So if you hold Control and press arrow key left or right, so this is the last frame of shot A, and we're going to apply a freeze frame. There you go, freeze frame, and drag this timeline all the way to the end. So it's there, and we'll do the same thing for shot B. Now we want shot B to as well reveal in the beginning. So we'll have to duplicate it 2 times. So shot B for the first frame. Let's apply time freeze. So this is the one that has the time freeze applied on. Let's bring this. There you go. And duplicate this one more time and apply a time freeze for the last frame. And let's drag this all the way here. So there you go, this looks fine. And same thing for shot C. We will duplicate it for the first frame. We'll duplicate it for the first frame. Apply time, freeze time, drag this all the way here. So this is great. Now what we need to do is really apply the camera animation. So for this camera over here, I can just delete it and just create a new camera. Same camera. And with this camera, what I want to do is that by the time it gets here, we're going to animate this camera. So transform, let's apply a keyframe for the position and point of interest. We're not dealing with the orientation, so we're okay with that. And once it gets here to this frame, it goes all the way down. Whoops. Yeah, it goes all the way down here. So let's see how this looks. Now I like to apply some kind of motion blur for all these layers by clicking here. So, and then it goes here. And for the last frame, what's going to happen is the camera is going to zoom out. Once this animation ends, let's apply some keyframes here. And right when it gets to this point, it's just going to zoom out. And we're going to see the whole, all the frames basically. Now you can always take this, adjust it however you want. And the next step would be to, you can, take this key and apply keyframe assistant, easy ease, easy out, whatever that works for you. So it's a smoother animation. Now this is done, and if you got any questions, write in the comment section below, and I hope you learn a lot from this, and I'm hoping for you to create your own project.